Some of our members will tell me that people spend more time searching for a new car than they do for a financial advisor. Developing a relationship with a financial advisor is a long-term investment. This is not something you're going to do for, a few months or even a few years. It's something you're going to do over several decades, in my view. That's going to ensure that you have the greatest opportunity of reaching the financial goals that you want to reach. So the first thing you want to do is look for someone who is trustworthy. And you've got to ensure that there's a good fit between you and that financial advisor. Often some of the discussions you get into are very personal in nature. For example, how are you going to plan for your estate in the event of your death? How are you going to plan for your retiring needs? What kind of educational institutions do you want to send your children to? Therefore, how much money do you want to set aside for that particular purpose? And so forth. These kinds of events are very long-term in nature, and it's important that you have a very good and open working relationship with that advisor. So trust, very critical. Knowledgeable, is the individual aware of all the current products that are out there on the market, whether they're insurance products or investment products or other kinds of products that are going to address your particular needs. Is the individual taking continuing education programs? Do they carry appropriate what we call errors and omissions insurance, but it's really a professional liability insurance? Do they carry that? And if so, is it adequate enough in the event that that an error is made, and and that needs to be addressed? All of those kinds of things you need to look for in a financial advisor. This is a very common myth in our industry. When you speak to individuals who have retained a financial advisor many years down the road, and they look back to retaining that individual, they often tell you that, we had very modest amounts of money to invest at the time. But by sitting down with that individual and working with them over the last 15 and 20 years, we've been able to build up a sizable nest egg. So no, they don't need a lot of money to invest when retaining an advisor. What they do need to do is to continue to work with that advisor. Studies show that individuals who work with an advisor over an extended period of time will have between 2 and 3 times the assets of those that do not retain an advisor. So not a lot of money to invest initially, but need to stick with the plan, need to stick with the advisor, need to know that there are some goals at the end of the plan. Yeah, financial advisors are compensated in different ways depending upon the kind of compensation model that they have. Some receive commissions on the products that they provide based upon the plan, let's say, that you have. Others are salaried individuals, and still others have a fee for service. Or they might in fact have a combination of all three. Not all compensation models are the same. So one size does not fit all. It may depend on the kind of product that you are looking for at that particular point in time. But don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask the advisor very explicitly, how are you compensated? Will there be different forms of compensation depending upon what part of the plan is being executed, or what products are being purchased, that kind of thing. And ask for it in writing. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It is appropriate to interview an advisor. In fact, I would interview at least 3 candidates if I were looking for an advisor, because at the end of the day, the relationship between you and that advisor it should be a long-term relationship. This is a relationship that, in my view, would last 10, 20, possibly even more years. And you have to make sure there's the right fit. And you have to ensure that you trust that individual. And so you're likely not going to find, that absolutely perfect person in that first interview. So interview at least 2 or 3 or more if that's what you wish. And at the end of the day, I'm certain you're going to find the ideal candidate out there. Well, there's a number of questions one could ask or should ask. First of all, is the individual qualified? What does it mean to be qualified? And there's parts to that as well. Are there licenses required to purchase the kind of product that I might want to purchase as part of that plan? If so, does the individual have those licenses? Are there other credentials, or we call them designations, that the individual has? Does the individual participate on a regular basis in continuing education programs? Does the individual carry professional liability insurance? We actually call it errors and omissions insurance, and what it really means is if that advisor happens to make an error, and it might even be a clerical error if you want, with respect to your particular plan, which results in some kind of financial harm to you, then you have an opportunity to make restitution with respect to that particular situation. What kind of experience do they have working with your kind of situation, if you want, your kind of file? For example, you might find that some financial advisors are going to specialize with couples in their 30s with children, whereas other advisors might focus more on retirement planning issues. So you can ask that kind of question. Who else is going to be working on your plan? Is this individual a sole practitioner, or are they part of a broader team? And often you might want to bring specialists into the overall plan that the advisor is attempting to achieve on your behalf. So there may be the necessity for legal advice. There may be the necessity for specific accountancy advice. Again, they're part of a broader team that the advisor would bring into the picture. One of the questions you should ask is, does the advisor belong to a professional association? Professional associations add a lot of value for financial advisors, and therefore they add value for you as a client. Professional associations often will have a code of professional conduct, such as we have at Advocis, and this means that the individual must meet certain standards on an ongoing basis. They will be subject to a continuing education requirement, and that's important because products are constantly being updated. There's changes to the regulation of financial advice in the industry, and these continuing education opportunities will provide access to advisors to that information, again, which serves your interests as a consumer at the end of the day. Well, what you need to do is to sit down with that individual and get a sense of them. There has to be a good feel, there has to be a good fit between you and the advisor. And the relationship is going to be a long-term relationship. It's going to be one based on trust. And you have to trust that financial advisor. You have to feel very, very comfortable with them. You're going to get into a discussion about some very detailed financial issues. And if you're not comfortable telling them those things, then that advisor probably is not the right fit for you. There are some warning signs out there that an advisor may not be looking after your best interests, and so you need to pay attention to those. Certainly there have been some people out there who have been found offside. So we know they exist, and it probably happens frankly in all professions. But if an advisor is promising you consistently high returns, let's say, that's just not realistic. Stock markets go up and down, so your investment portfolio is going to go up and down. If they're offering you a special deal, here just for you or a select group of clients, that's not typical of the kinds of investment products that are out there on the market. So again, I'd be probably running away from that kind of scenario. You're feeling uncomfortable about the financial advisor suggesting that you should be putting this much money into an investment, let's say. If that advisor knows you and you've built that trusting relationship, they know how much you should be investing. And if all of a sudden you're feeling uncomfortable, that means that that person, in my view, is not acting in your best interests. And you're beyond sort of your risk level that you told that advisor you were willing to participate in. And again, that's another warning sign. You know, if it's too good to be true, then it probably is not something you should be involved in. And you just need to walk away.